Okay, so we're live streaming now. We have only 7 of us. Hi, Craig Slutskin. Craig, as you know, this is a public meeting, but we won't have any public speaking sessions today. But you're free to listen to our meeting. Matthew Chuck, I was hoping he was going to show up today, because according to the DOE guidelines or suggestions, I guess, the District 2 President's Council were the facilitators for the questions 1 through 3. And if you saw Matthew's email, they did not get a big response. I think it was just 1 question. So I created a form and I sent out to all the council members, D2 council members, and hopefully they forwarded, and Matthew and Len forwarded to the District 2 presidents, PTA presidents, I guess, to contribute questions that way. Technically, I think they should still facilitate the process, but I guess we can work together since we're now providing some of the questions. I don't know, I'd like to hear your thoughts on all that. And Matthew did offer to help, I guess, moderate the district, that portion of of our town hall. I had asked Daniela previously to moderate the public portion of the town hall, meaning the questions that we were receiving from the public, and we're actually now starting to get a good number of them. I don't know what the final count is right now, or the current count, I should say. I can just check real briefly. Yeah, we are at over 32 questions. So we have a lot of council questions. I mean, public questions, which is great. Some of them are probably redundant and some of them might not be appropriate, but a good deal of them are. And I had feedback already from Kelly McGuire saying he would reduce his introduction to the 5 minutes. I'm waiting for Sean Davenport. I don't have his email address, so I requested that Face forward that to him. I'm hoping we can reach out to him before the start of the town hall, so it would be okay for him as well to do 5 minutes. I imagine it would be, but we'll find out. And I'm hoping we have more time for our community questions. There is a lot of issues going around from different councils that are unhappy with the process. From I attended the District 5 council or town hall. The president there decided that they would go their own way, and District 30 had some issues, and District 15 had a lot of issues the other day as well. I was on for that. So I don't know what thoughts are, but I think the main takeaway from the town hall is that our community should find out more about our candidates. I don't know if the drama really serves anything in that request, but I don't know. I'd like to hear people's thoughts. Lupe, you have your hand up.
Have we received their applications and resumes and stuff like that?
Yeah. I can't hear you.
Have we received their applications and resumes and such yet?
Sort of, but we haven't received it, but I've been notified, and I will only be, it's non-public, and I will only be able to view it after I sign a non-disclosure agreement and prior to the C-37 consultation. I can forward that email, which I received like the other day, but I don't believe that this will be, the resumes will be shared. That is not my my decision, or I had nothing to do with that process. So.
You mean not shared with the public community, correct?
Yeah, it wasn't.
But I meant as a council.
I don't even know if that's a possibility, because there's a non-disclosure agreement that would have to be signed, and they sent it to council presidents. I don't know if that's.
No, I signed it.
Oh, you did receive one? Okay.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm asking. I apologize if I didn't make that clear. I'm wondering if you've heard anything about when we would be receiving it.
I didn't even know that the email was forwarded to you all as well. So it just shows up as a BCC when the email is sent to me, I think, anyway.
Yeah, I assumed everyone did, because I got it a few days ago.
I got it also. So is it, Ben, is it your understanding, once we sign the non-disclosure agreement, we should get access to whatever whatever they're going to provide that's specific to each candidate?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that we can use that for the consultation.
Okay.
Process. So, I mean, you're getting the information then when I get it. So
no, understood. It's just a bit bizarre that they're not making it but
prior to the meeting.
Yeah, but also it's a bit bizarre that they're not making it publicly available.
Yep.
You know, I mean, if you apply for a job, you send out a resume. But anyway, it's neither here nor there.
Well, what I suggest is, there is public information available about both candidates, and especially since we're not as familiar with Sean Davenport. I mean, he has a LinkedIn account and he has some YouTube videos, so they're easy to Google. And for anyone watching along, I'd recommend that too. I don't know if the District 5 meeting is available to the public yet, although it was a public meeting. I don't know if they posted it, but yeah, it would be nice to have. I mean, you certainly know a lot more about Kelly McGuire as our current superintendent. Right. We can certainly, if Lupe and Janie, if you want to reach out to Michelle, she can answer that question. She answered a lot of questions that we were going back and forth the past few days regarding the times. She said learning times can do 1 minute if we want, and I would really like to. I know District 15 families or the community there was upset that they didn't get to ask direct questions and get responses from the candidates. And so all that wound up was that it was the community giving feedback. And that's, what usually happens in our calendar meetings. So I think 1 minute each to each speaker for 30 minutes, maybe we can get like 30 responses. That's what they did in District 15. And I think for us to listen to what the community has to say would be helpful. It's also, I think, since we've already collected questions, so for the 30 minutes prior to that, will be 30 minutes of community questions. So, and when our council can ask those questions on behalf of the community, that might go faster, because sometimes you get like a long speech and then a 5-second question after that. So since we already collected those questions, we can have more of a rapid succession of questions. But is there anything that you wanted to contribute to that, Janie? Or I know you've been looking through that, the questions. I was hoping Daniela could join us today, but I can speak with her offline. But I know she'll need some help, coordinating that maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the questions, as you pointed out, some are a little bit too specific for the candidate forum, but I'm wondering if there is a way that we as council members can, you know, make the question generic. So, you know, instead of subject matter, you know, my school XYZ, blah, 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 you know, just make the, you know, kind of state the question and not have it associated with a specific school, so to speak. So you can address the issue, but not bring in a specific school. Because I think some of the questions actually are the subject matter can be tied to any school. It's, you know, it's just this particular person has an issue at this school, but it doesn't mean that, you know, another family wouldn't have the same issue at another school. So I think if we can just genericize the questions, and if we as, you know, whoever's the appointed person to answer the question, I think to your point, it'll go faster. We just ask the question, get a response from each candidate, and that'll give us, you know, more intel into what they're thinking.
I agree. I agree
Yeah.
with you. If you want to help categorize them, that I'd really appreciate that.
I posted 3 questions that I encompassed, especially one or two of which encompassed a bunch of others.
Is that in the?
It's in our.
Which form is that in?
It's in our form. It's in
okay.
the council. It's in the council one. Okay. I did try to combine a few ideas in at least 2 of them. So
I have a question, Ben. We have till tonight at 7 to submit for our questions.
Well, I was hoping it's not, you know, well, that's what I was hoping to do. But, you know, if we need another few hours to get some more responses from council members, yeah.
Okay. Either way, whatever deadline, I'm totally flexible with that. Are we going to then have them ranked by Monday before the meeting?
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was hoping Matthew and Len were going to be here. They actually, I think, requested it or requested this meeting for our first session. So I'll reach out to them and you know, because we have to be inclusive of the President's Councils.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, you know, we can rank our questions then. But we need to set a cutoff point so you know, that can be organized. Now I'm hoping I was going to do an email blast again today or this evening right after our meeting here for more submissions from the public, and then I was going to send one I'm going to try in the early morning, late morning, early afternoon to send out again another email blast, a third and a fourth email blast to the public to submit their questions. I think I have it by 1 p.m. And so we can have a cutoff point. I'm actually swamped tomorrow morning with my own work, which is unfortunate. But
just and a quick question regarding timing, and I am looking at the Run a Show just to kind of help remind myself. Yeah. So I apologize if this is there 30 minutes of community questions, and I like the idea of, you know, our council member moderating those questions just to get through much faster and get, you know, through more questions. But was there an additional time on top of that for us to take questions for people that may not have known about the form or did not get a chance to submit form? Or was that a total? The 30 minutes is
yeah, it's a total of 30 minutes for the questions. Well, we're only given 90 minutes with the candidates. So right. If they finish early, the 3 questions that are chosen from our council now, then we can start the public portion. And with that,
Early.
yeah, so we can start early, and that's what I was
Okay.
hoping to anyway. So if it goes 40 minutes or 50 minutes, that's great.
And then after the superintendents leave, I guess my question is, are we considering taking public comment as feedback
Yep.
once they've gone? And we could do that live as like a raise your hand or,
Yep.
sign up. Okay, great. All
I
right.
think we should
That's
just.
what I was referring to. And so
Do you want?
Are we recording
think-
during that time?
D15
It's recorded by
learning times.
Learning Times. Yep. I don't know if they're going to edit that out or not. It's not streamed.
Correct.
Though, someone who has a D2 who's watching on Zoom on D2, they could somehow stream it too. So, we don't. Once the signal's out there, it's out there. So, so we have no control over that.
Right. With the
Candace
idea
us.
is they leave. Right. The idea is they leave and don't even have somebody else listening for them, but who knows? That we have no control over that.
Yeah. So I'd love to, spend a full 30 minutes providing feedback time. We could go into a separate session and ask for more feedback, but I feel like we're going to lose a lot of people, and it might start to get redundant. Some of the feedback in that 1 minute. I don't know.
And then I think if any additional feedback, we can have them send it to us, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to end up, compiling everything and doing that at the consultation, reviewing all of it.
I'm still planning to put a form together so families or people who attend the meeting can provide their feedback. For Lupe and I attended the students temporary housing, students with economic need meeting that Ushma ran the other day, and there she did the poll. She showed us how that works, sample poll, but we would have to do that during the last 30 minutes. And I don't know how much time I wanted to dedicate to that. Robin, sorry, you were on as well. Were you there for the poll part too? Or?
No, they had left early.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we did that.
Oh yeah. You both of you are on that. That's right. You had the double count. Yep. So I think it's a great idea to have the poll. I think for our use, it's it's maybe more qualitative.
The poll can also get really sloppy from experience. We use it at lab often, but it can cause, it just gets sloppy, and it's sometimes you don't know how many people have voted, and people have questions because only one person's seen the numbers come in.
Yeah.
It's not that easy to use.
Well, we didn't have, and Ishma mentioned we don't have to do like a choose which candidate or yes or no type of poll. It could be an open feedback.
Yeah, that's
where
what we
they
talked
just provide feedback.
about, like whether or not they answered the questions appropriately and that type of thing. Yeah, I was there.
Right.
Well,
no. When she sampled it, she gave us specific questions that we were answering, but she mentioned that, the other option is just to do where someone would write whatever it is they want to write as far as feedback is concerned and submitting.
Well, I can create a quick and easy form for people who tend to give their views and share that with all of you. So I think that should satisfy. I do think we can use a poll in other settings in the future. Just I just would hate for it to get out, because this is not tomorrow is not an election. Tomorrow is a town hall where we get to hear them, and I really feel like this is too much of a. I want to make sure there's dignity to all this, and I don't. This shouldn't be an election. This should be. I don't know what this should be, but it's a job interview for our district, and they should feel free to be genuine and honest with us, and not feel like they have to answer a certain question so they can just get votes.
And to be clear, they're both going to be on at the same time.
For the first, yes, for the
And
first
will we
90
alternate-
minutes. Yeah,
Will we alternate who goes first with the answer?
that's what we should be doing. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
they
they'll hear-
directed us to do
uh,
that.
They'll hear each other's answers, and it's such a straight. It feels so much like a debate.
Yep.
It's not meant to be.
Yeah.
It feels like the forum we ran for the mayoral debates.
It's really the DOE should be running all this because they chose the candidates. They chose the format. They're ultimately choosing who the superintendent is. We consult. I don't know how much they take from that, but it's so. Therefore, I think what we're doing is just letting our district know what our candidates' views are and what priorities do they share your priorities or not. Yep. And that's important. I've found it very interesting what's going on throughout the city by attending a few district meetings. I don't know how much more we should be discussing. I don't know what people's thoughts are because I'm going to contact Matthew and then I'm also to see how he wants to I mean, he's run other meetings in the past, so I know he's very good at that. Craig again. But we're going to rank our questions, and he can put the one question that they had, and then, yep, Janie.
So I just want to double check. So after we run through the questions, 3 questions from the President's Council, and let's say we get through all the questions from that people have submitted prior to the meeting. Let's say we get through all of that and we still have a little bit of time left over. I think to Lupe's point is, will we consider taking, live questions? Like this is where it gets complicated, I guess, because we're not controlling the meeting, but if people wanted to somehow submit questions live that can be read. The only thing that we would have to ask the face people who are running the meeting to send our Google form so we can help ask the questions. I don't know.
Well, we have 2 options.
Mhm.
We can do on Zoom. We
Mhm.
have a Q&A where they can submit questions through the Q&A process.
Okay.
And then we can designate one council member to look at the Q&A and just say, we had some questions submitted, and that Q&A can be open for all 90 minutes while the candidates are there. The chat, according to the DOE, is closed until the final 30 minutes without the candidates.
Got it.
So we can have the Q&A open and we can collect questions, and maybe we should have one council member each read one of those questions, in addition. I don't know. I think that'd be a great idea to involve more of you.
I think so long as there's a mechanism, if we have extra time, that we can say, okay, we've gone through all the stuff that's submitted. There have been questions that have been submitted via Zoom. Now we have extra time so we can go through those. Because I do think that a lot of what I'm hearing, people are not happy. The other meetings is they feel like their questions aren't being answered. So I think to Lupe's point, if people didn't know about the fact that they could submit prior, now they have a form to submit live. And if there's extra time, at least we're trying to get to some of the questions.
Yep.
I don't know if it trying to it might be better just to designate one person to read the questions versus rotate, because we're not controlling the meeting. It's like, who knows who is in the rotation, but we can figure that out later. I do think that having the acknowledgement, if we have extra time, we'll go to the Zoom questions.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll have the Q&A for those 90 minutes. And other thing is we need someone to be aware of the chat during the first 30 minutes. I mean, the last 30 minutes. So because that'll be an additional source of
Mhm.
feedback, and we can have we can also save and share that chat with the council and the district and D2 or President's Council. Lupe, yeah.
Oh, I should have lowered. You guys both managed to hit all the points I was going to say. Thank you for highlighting, Jamie. And yes, I was going to mention that there was a Q&A that we could use to moderate which questions are asked.
Great. Kush, you have your hand up?
Yeah, are we, I think we addressed this then. Are we, I don't love the idea of we're not taking questions from the audience like live, as in they ask a question, they get on the mic and ask a question, correct?
Well,
I
Janie
just-
was suggesting if we somehow get through all our questions from that people have submitted, especially like in terms of the categories, like if we've covered all of them, and we have like some extra time, should we be asking questions can we ask questions that
I doubt we will. I mean, we have 13 council questions now. Well, sorry, 12.
we have 13 now? Oh gosh. Wow.
Just 12 council. I mean, I think 2 of them can
But
probably
don't we only get 2 if President's Council's getting that 1?
No, I mean, these are rehashes of the public one, basically. I think they're combinations on the public ones. So I think at least that was the intent. I'm looking through them. A lot of them are recycled from the public that they submitted, which I think we have to do. We should be combining similar ideas. And I think there's 2 or 3 further council questions that probably can be consolidated. But I think they do reflect a lot of the questions that are from the
So
public.
are we not pulling from the public's questions then? We're just pulling from our questions, and then we should
I think
be.
if our questions encapsulate what the public has, which I certainly tried to do, then yes, I think we should use ours, because we're back to the same problem that Janie suggested, that some of them are very specific as a specific school, some of them are very specific into a particular program that can be lumped in with larger categories.
Right, but I thought Janie made a really great suggestion that we can take the questions from the public and generalize them so that they're not as specific to that school.
Which is what I did in my 3 questions.
Okay, I'm just trying to get clarity, because if certain questions weren't addressed by council members, I mean, the whole purpose of getting the questions from the public, I'm glad I didn't submit my questions, because now I saw questions from the public that I said, okay, that would suffice for that particular category or topic, and I wasn't going to repeat it in the question that I was going to submit to the council. But this changes the whole framing, and
that's just how I approached it. I think that's why we're here, to discuss this.
Right. No, I'm glad. It's not a debate. But I do want to be clear, because if again, this is a public forum. So the way I heard that, if I was a parent, I heard you're only going to be choosing from council questions, and that defeats the purpose of collecting public questions. So I just want to make sure we're not excluding what the public has offered and only going to be considering what is on our separate spreadsheet. Because originally I had asked Ben, and I was told to submit to the same public forum. And then only recently we changed to have a separate one. I just wanted to be clear and transparent that the public's questions will be included, and not just what you have summarized on our sheet. Does that make sense? And it doesn't take away from what any of the questions asked by the council, because I have not seen that spreadsheet.
Lupe,
I only saw 2.
Lupe, why I created the second form was that District 2 President's Council did not collect. It only collected 1 question. And I don't even know if that's an appropriate question or not. I haven't seen it. So therefore, we need 3 questions prior to the public portion.
Right. And I guess my initial question, what started this, was I just want to be sure. Our 3 is just 3, regardless. That's our 3. And then everything remainder of that is coming from the public. And
Yeah,
so when
that was-
Kush mentioned we already have 12 questions on our council, we're not going to have extra time to get to public questions that may not have been able to submit to the forum ahead of time.
No,
That's I heard that we're only asking our questions and not really
When I
taking the
s-
30 minutes to, or
To be-
even extra time. Like you said, if we get through the 3 questions that we've been allotted via Run a Show, we would give that remainder time to the public's questions. And I do understand what you're saying, Push, that you have created, combined your questions that you've submitted based off of public feedback, but it shouldn't be, all I'm saying is that it shouldn't be limited to that one council spreadsheet.
All right,
Does that make sense?
Yes, but let me be more precise. I think it has to be. I propose that it has to be, because first of all, there's 33 parent questions already in the form. And I would say that they deserve priority over live questions, if for no other reason, just for manageability, but also because they were the first ones in. But even 33 questions, we're not going to get through. So therefore, I think the council has to summarize them in some way, shape, or form, which brings me back to, yes, I think this final council sheet should incorporate those questions. Is probably going to have to be the final form, because we're not going to get through 33, much less more live questions in the forum. Otherwise, it's impossible.
So is our form
by
separate?
the way, I don't think we did this much differently for the chancellor, or at least I didn't. While we had our opportunity to create our own questions for the chancellor, mine was very much informed by questions that I saw the public post, and I took direct quotes from some of the quote questions, as I did here. That's just my suggestion.
I think if we touch upon all the topics, or most of the topics that the families want to find out about, and if it's about summarizing some of these questions, I think that's the right way to go.
I agree. I think we agree on that front. And it goes back to what Janie suggested. So I guess my question is, the summarizing of the questions that Janie even suggested, and you said maybe Daniela and you could do that together. That is, that's separate than what you're saying, Chris. So that's why I'm a bit confused, because I thought the whole purpose of what we suggested as far as summarizing what we got from the public would indeed bring 33 questions to maybe 20, and then from there, the 20 questions could, be slimmed down to include 1 or 2 topics that could be combined. But I want to be clear, if that's what we're doing, then we're doing that as a council together and putting this on the council spreadsheet. Or is this something, the way I understood it earlier was that it was something separate that they were going to be doing to conglomerate the public questions?
I don't know. I'm flexible to either. I think they could use my questions, which already summarize a bunch of them, and I think they should, because I've done some of that work on topics that interest me, but it certainly combines several questions. I would say my 3 questions probably touch on 7 to 10 of them.
So if we asked that during
I would suggest
our council 3 questions, then we wouldn't touch on those things during the public. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're including,
why would we? Why would we? They're redundant. They're specific. They have,
say the same each time.
Yeah.
Janie, you have your hand.
No, I think I'm just, I agree with Kush just said. I think what we're trying to do is we organize the council's questions to address as many of the parent questions, but to the extent that they're not incorporated in the council members' questions, and there's still a lot of time, those questions should be asked. So, because I think everybody, we may not be able to touch on we may not be able to get all the parent questions in summary form in all the council members' questions, just because they may ask questions that don't fit in our particular categories. It doesn't mean that those questions shouldn't be asked. Those questions will be asked, but it'll, so I think the decision tree is Kush tries to take from the parent questions as many of the questions that fit into his own questions by way of category. And then if they come off the parent list, then that makes the parent list smaller. To the extent there's stuff left over on the parent list that the council members have not addressed, those questions will be asked. Again, time permitted. Let's say we get through all those questions. Then if we still have time left over, then during the live session via the Zoom question chat, we as council members can take a look at the questions, and when they're ones that are appropriate and generic, we could ask those questions.
I agree with that.
Right.
I agree with that.
agree.
I just submit that I don't think you're going to get to that last part.
No, I understand.
Where-
It doesn't. I think what's important for everybody to agree upon is, what is the procedure or the logic here. Whether we get through it or not, it doesn't matter. Like, we may not, but to the extent that we do, we don't need to kind of go offline and say, we didn't think about this. So now we have a prescription for, if we have extra time, what do we do? As opposed to, we have extra time, we don't know what to do. And then if we do something that we didn't discuss, people get upset. So now I think we're all in agreement in terms of, what the council members, in terms of combining questions, and then whatever's left over from the parents list that's already submitted, address those. And then if there's time left over, then we go to the public Zoom question and try to pull questions from there.
By show of hands, is what Janie just said, do we agree upon that? Is that any issues or with that? Because I think that was my understanding too. So is that okay? We got a thumbs up from Robin Kelleher. Thumbs up, Kush, Janie. Okay. Upe, I know you have a hands up. We got a thumbs up. Ken. Yep. Okay. So we got okay. So I think that's the best process, and I will relay that to some of the members who didn't join us today, and to Matthew Chook as the D2 council president, co-president. President, council, co-president. It's a tongue twister. Kush.
Yeah, my hand's up from before. I would say that, that doesn't mean my questions can't and shouldn't be further tweaked by whether that's me or Janie or whoever the final person is. But
okay.
I'm open to them. The questions don't have to be final either.
Well, I will try to call Matthew directly because, again, because I'd like to include the council presidents.
I agree.
In our meeting.
Yes.
And review with him, and if he can add his question, and then we can, and then at 7 p.m. I'll ask all council members to rank the sheet, the spreadsheet that I shared with everybody. So we get an idea from that, and then at 1 p.m. tomorrow we start ranking. Oh, Ushma is joining. We start ranking I don't know if we rank or categorize them. Maybe we just categorize the public questions. Because we're trying to get as many as possible. Ushma, I'll make you co-host. There.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi Ushma. I don't know if you followed along on the streaming at all or not. It's just basically we went over the process of how we're doing the questions. Like Kush has added some questions from our council perspective that incorporate a lot of the ideas from the public that we've had over 30 plus public questions already. So the three questions that we ask as a council, a combined council with the District 2 President's Council's questions, if those categories are not included in questions that are in the public questions, we'll ask those questions, and hopefully they'll be categorized too. So we'll ask it a lot of those questions, and if there's any time remaining, we'll use the Q&A function of the Zoom webinar to ask the public to submit questions, and then we'll ask if there's time remaining. Kush felt there probably won't be, but because we're getting a lot of questions now from the public. But I think with our format, and that Kelly already agreed to shorten his time to 5 minutes, and hopefully we'll hear the same from Sean tomorrow, and then we'll have just more time for everything. And then the last 30 minutes, and D15 did it last Friday. They did 1 minute a public response. So they got to about 30 of them. So hopefully we can get to the same. We'll get, I guess this is a good question for our council here, or for members here. Should we do it by, hand raising? I don't know if they have that function, or should we do it? I could create a form where people can just sign up to speak for 1 minute, which has worked well in the past. And that way,
I can't remember how they did it at D15, but I know that they did have issues, and I'm glad Ishmael was on, because they were not allowing them to use any personal slides. But
okay.
Being that you're giving the Google form, that alleviates that problem. So,
all right. Oh, I dropped off for that part, so that's good to know. So there was an issue.
Yeah. They had slides they wanted to share, and they said, and Learning Times told them, unfortunately, no. But I think we can put a link to a form in the chat. That should not be a problem.
Okay, so I will create 2 forms then. One form for the public to write their views of the feedback, and another form for public speaking. And I will ask, the third thing I'll do is I'll ask Sean and Kelly if there are any slides that they wanted to share since they can't, but if they want, I can make it public. We can have links on our website if people do want to see them, or at least maybe because they might have created that already, and or we could just forward it to all the council members and to the District 2 President's Council members before our C-37 process. So,
and if they can make it a link, viewable via a link, it would be, if we put it in the chat, everyone would be able to access that.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, sure. So I will send that out.
Thanks for the recap, by the way. I'm sorry I was unable to join earlier. It makes it a lot easier on me to not have to set anything up for any of the polls and things like that. I think if we can get some clarity on whether or not hand raises or the public putting anything in the chat in terms of names, I did like that aspect of the D15, and I just read a recap of it, that one that I forwarded to you, Ben. I really liked that whole 1 minute to speak and hearing from the community. If that's, that is the whole point here, and we have to remember to leave some time for interpreters if there is anyone from either the hard of hearing / deaf community and or Spanish or Chinese speaking community as well. So let's make sure that we do leave time for anyone from those communities. But I liked that aspect of that rundown on the D15 meeting, but it sounds like we won't be able to use the polls anyways. And I'm just now looking at the CEC questions, but I haven't looked at the community questions yet. So I appreciate that. And sorry, I came late.
I know you got, you said you would, or we got contacted by the deaf community and were you able to?
Yes. Oh, you were. So Michelle Chang took care of it. She was going back and forth with Stacy, and what they have, who's the PTA president at 347/47, and the translators that they had already booked for their PTA meeting are just going to come over to our superintendent town hall. So it will be the exact same translators. They will do everything they can to make sure that they are available from 7:15. So they'll try and truncate their PTA meeting. So we will have American Sign Language interpreters for the meeting. We didn't CC everybody else. It was about 15 other emails. So Michelle and Jennifer and I kind of took care of it with the PS 347 crew.
Thank you so much. I've just been swamped recently, so but I really appreciate it. I'm glad that that's happening.
Stacy comes to a lot of our STH meetings, so I was very happy to do what we could for somebody who's been a really good citizen
Great.
and a great school.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to discuss or?
Nope.
No. All right.
So to the extent that it's possible, it would be really great if we would allow for a minute from the first 30 people that either put their hand up, or if you're going to deploy some kind of a Google form.
Yeah, I'll do the Google form. If for some reason we don't get 30 people who want to, talk, then we can use, we can think of another way to either the chat function or not, or we
I
can
will
read
say
off
I was
the,
impressed.
or
I
we
was
can read off the
impressed of
chat.
how they did theirs, Shma. They facilitated it really well, and they got through a lot of public comment, which, like you said, was the main purpose for them throwing this at us so last minute. So.
Yeah. I forwarded the recap from that ECC thread to Ben so that he could see that some of the other councils have just kind of eschewed the DOE rules and done it on their own without the structure that the DOE prescribed, and that they seem to think that it was a fruitful use of their time.
I do want to mention, I have had some emails that were sent to me with people's views about the candidates. Do you feel I can share it with you all prior to the meeting or after the meeting? If there's an issue prior to the meeting, I'll wait till after the meeting. Otherwise, I just want to share it before the C37 consultation because people sent them out to me, and I have asked them if they want it forward. If it's
I think
okay
it'd be funny
forward.
if you read them during the meeting.
Yeah, yeah. So
I would appreciate seeing those. And is there any advance? Does anyone know whether or not we will get to see their CVs in advance or not?
We were discussing that. We don't know yet. I mean, I think we all signed the non-disclosures.
Yeah.
Nothing's come of that, as far as I know.
I mean, we can Google stalk them and look at their LinkedIn, which is about as good as it's going to get. But I am a fan of Kelly, but I don't want him to have an unfair advantage because we're so much more familiar with him and his background. So it's one of those, I am just trying to make sure that we're giving everybody a fair shake here.
There's some video of Davenport speaking. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a commemoration, I think, or 8th grade graduation.
I do have the transcript from the D5 meeting. If you want me to send it after the our meeting to council members,
Can you send it before? Is it possible to send before?
I can send it before too, sure. I'll make a PDF of it. So
much appreciated. And just one other thing, only because I wasn't clear, and maybe the other council members that weren't here for this meeting, it was common knowledge, but for me it wasn't. So I think it's important to maybe reiterate the fact that we're pulling questions even for the public sector from our page and not really the public's page, and that we as council members should be evaluating the public questions to submit onto our spreadsheet so that, there is an inclusive aspect of including what we gathered from the public. Because I know that now, and I will do that.
Didn't we just have this 20-minute discussion?
Robin, excuse me.
Yes, Lupe?
I am clarifying. We had that discussion because I was not clear that that was going to be the protocol. And even Ushma, who just came on, who said, I have not even taken a look at the public comments, and she submitted for her own. But does she know that we as council members are supposed to be collaborating the public questions, because we're going to be taking from our questions first before the public questions. So
I understand.
I said, that's
Lupe, 25,
Robin,
we had the first half of the conversation about this, and this is all recorded.
Robin, I'm asking
so we
Ben
only have 5 more minutes.
Ben, so. Excuse me, call of order. All I was asking Ben to do is read it. Yes.
I haven't seen your hand raised.
Call to order, because I asked Ben, he recognized me. And I asked him a question, if he could just reiterate to the rest of the council that was not here to hear that part of the meeting that you sat through.
I'm actually kind of lost. The public form that I emailed, it went out to 3,500 email accounts, which is being forwarded by PTAs in schools as well. So it's as public as we're going to get. It's going to be more public than the people who attend.
I think you misunderstood me, Ben. I meant the council questions that we're submitting.
Yeah, the council.
Being that we had agreed that we're going to be pulling from, you said we already had 12. I know I haven't submitted anything. And it was said that Kush suggested, well, I pulled my questions from the public so we don't have to, we're going to go from our questions first. That was what you guys all agreed on. And I said, okay, that's fine. Now that I know that, all I'm suggesting is we let the other council members know that they should be looking at all the public questions to put on our council spreadsheet as suggestions that's going to be rated.
Well,
I'm wrong, are we rating both? Are we going to scale both public and our council?
We're rating our form for the top 3 questions that are going to be read first. And then we're going to try to get to as many public questions as possible because they'll be categorized.
Correct. And that's when I said, okay, public questions. But then Kush said, no, we're going to go through ours because ours is, he collaborated the public questions. And that's when I said, well, I want to make sure we're being inclusive. And he even put in the chat, he said, mind you, mine was not mine. My questions were combined, but only, to interest me. So
he's allowed to submit that.
No, I know. I didn't. When did I say he did? He wasn't. All I'm asking is for you to let someone like Ushma know, someone like Robin Broshi, the other council members that were not here for that conversation, to let them know that we should be incorporating the public questions if we want them to be included. If we're not going to get through all of ours, how are we expected to get through theirs? And theirs are the questions that the 30 minutes are supposed to be allotted for. Do you see what I'm saying? And that was my point previously. So I just want to make sure that the public questions is the 30 minutes that will be used are not the way I understood it, and maybe I understood it wrong. It sounded like you guys agreed that we're going to go from our question spreadsheet first.
No, we're going to go through our first 3.
And then the remainder ones, the way I understood Kush saying, he thought, no, we should only be going from our question spreadsheet. And I said, well, that defeated the purpose of collecting public questions. And that's when he replied by saying, but I included public questions into my questions.
Okay.
So maybe I misunderstood.
I think, yeah, JD, yeah.
Yeah, can I summarized earlier what the prescription of what we are going to do. So there are 2 spreadsheets right now. There's a spreadsheet where council members are populating with their questions. There's also a spreadsheet that went out to the entire universe of parents, whatever, and that spreadsheet has questions from the general public. So what we are trying to do as council members is look for questions that parents have submitted and incorporate them in our questions, because our questions will have first ranking in terms of being asked. So what we suggested is that the council members should look at the questions that parents ask, incorporate them in their own questions where appropriate, because some of my questions could be duplicative of what parents are asking. So I can kind of massage it in a way where I am, taking my question and voicing the questions of parents. Now, to the extent that parents have asked questions that the council members have not included, we should use, and to the extent there's time left over, we should go to those questions. So basically is that you have council questions, let's say we get through all those, but those council questions by default should incorporate as many of the parent questions from the broader community. If we get through all of our questions, then we should go back to the parent questions in which they weren't addressed. Let's say we get through all of those questions, then we will go to the public forum, which is happening live, and look at what questions we have received via Zoom. So Kush's point is that we're not going to get through all this, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out a prescription of how we go through the questions that are submitted.
All right, it's 6:30, and if you have any last minute questions to submit, please submit them to the form. Oshma, you have your hand raised.
I just wanted to say thank you for that, Jamie, excuse me, that helped because I was just putting in my own question. I will now go look at that other one because I see that there's multiple questions. Let's be frank, from one side of the council. So I want to go through and see if I can elevate some of the other ones from the community that I believe in as well. Ben, are you then going to ask us to rank these?
Yep.
And or vote? Okay.
So I'll do that at around 7 p.m. Is that okay?
Done.
And then,
yeah.
Is there I don't know if we should do 1 through 3 because then, because then it's either 1 through 5 or the top. If there are 15 questions, 1 through 15. I don't. Anybody's thoughts on? Yep. Sure.
Can I just say maybe we give everybody 5 votes? You can rank 5 questions that you think are the most important for us to ask, and then whichever ones get the most votes get asked. So then that way you're not ranking them.
I'm just how do you choose that?
So if a particular question gets 5 votes, then that one's going to get asked. If a particular question only gets 1, then it might fall down to the bottom.
Okay. Anybody have a alternate method, or that's fine?
No, I think that makes sense. I think if we do it that way, it'll be a bit of a 2-step process, because the first group is we identify the top 10 or whatever top number by how many people choose, and then within that we need to figure out if there are a lot of ties, then we have to go and re-rank them. But I think for instance, is just choose 5 questions that you want to ask, and let's see where the data pans out.
Only 7 of us.
Because we could get 5 fives.
Yeah.
Or I mean, we get 10 fives or whatever.
Okay, there's only 7 of us on here. I don't think anybody else is really going to do much tonight.
All right. Okay. So we'll ask each, choose your top 5 questions. Okay.
Ben,
Are we
thank you for
voting by
being
7 and
patient for holding these meetings? I know they can get really tedious. So thank you for sacrificing your Sunday to be on here for over an hour.
Hey,
Yeah.
Ben?
Thank you. Yeah.
Ben, 2 questions on spreadsheet. One, are they, like if Chen and I, for example, have some similar questions, if we choose to further combine our questions, can we just delete one and add to the other, or does it get all
if that's
up?
fine with you,
but does that screw internal? I'm asking more just procedurally, database wise. Does that screw things up, or this just pulls from the form, right? It doesn't adjust anything afterwards. That's on us.
It's just impacting us. What would be better if at 7, if you would do this at 7 and from 7 to 7:30, after 7:30, all right, no one's submitting more questions from 7 to after 7. But if you want to edit your question, I'll give you that 7 to 7:30, and then we can do the polling at 7:30. Okay, and then it won't impact. And I'll make a copy of this, so in case something happens, we won't lose anything. All right. So submit before 7 p.m. And Lupe Ushma, if you can get a hold of Robin Broshi, if she hasn't submitted anything, please let her know. She has half an hour, and hopefully I'll see who else hasn't submitted. I was hoping Gabriella would submit something. I don't know if she has or not.
I didn't see anything from her.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. And see you all tomorrow.
Hand up. Was that from before?
Oh, Chen, did you? Sorry.
Yeah,
Chen?
my question is, I mean, I'd like the ranking that we gave the last time to the Chancellor's Town Hall. So I'd rather prefer that. We'll see how this one works. You know, we all vote for our top 5. I guess there's no sense of ranking which is the more important one, but which I thought was more useful because of preferences. This weighting based on the questions.
To be honest, I agree with Chen, because I didn't hear objections, but I actually agree with Chen, because that's already something we've done before.
The weighting?
This is a new method. I'm not saying the new method's bad. I'm just saying we don't have a lot of time, and we
Well,
used the last one.
it's simpler in a sense because then you
It's
just
3
added an
questions.
average. You know,
But it's
so
only 3 questions, right? So it's the top 3.
To me, I'm not looking at the 3 questions. I mean, I'm worried more with the other ones.
all right. I'll
I mean,
put
the three-
So are we ranking public questions as well? Is that what you're concerned about, Chris?
I hadn't made a distinction. No.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get through a lot of them. And I have to talk with Danielle how to categorize them and just get through them.
Yeah, because the 3 questions I think will be answered really quickly, and they're kind of canned. And then the ones that will be interesting are the ones that that we and the families ask.
Well, no, the 3 questions will be ours. We're not going with their format. We're going with our format in terms of.
But even the 3 questions should be answered pretty quickly. 3.
You know, the 2 councils, the 3 meetings that I've been in, they weren't. And they, the superintendent candidates took their time, and even took their time with the introduction and went in tangents too. So but at the D15 meeting, whoever was running the time clock there was pretty good at it. I just think we could do a faster time clock.
Yeah, how can we keep it to the topic and not letting them go on tangents? Who's controlling that moderation? Is it us?
Yes, and so Matthew would run that the non-public the format after the introductions would be run by Matthew Chook. So we can ask him to try to keep everything on topic. And then the portion of the public will be run by Daniela. And she was good at trying to keep that on topic with the chancellor last time. So.
Okay.
All right, I think that's Janie there. So, I don't know. I think it's actually, in a sense, better to rate each question, because then we know everyone's gone through them. And so I kind of like the format that we did last time as well, because I don't know. We've already used that format, as Chen pointed out. And I don't know, Robin, Janie.
I'm okay. Whatever you want to do, just tell us and we'll do it.
Okay. All right. So
Ben, just make a decision either way, whatever you
all right.
want.
So I'll make the decision, and at 7:30, I'll ask people to start rating them. Okay. All right. All right. Good night, everybody, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Thanks,
and I'd
Ben.
like to thank Craig and Janice. Thank you for
Thank you.
attending our meeting.
Yes, thank you, Janice and Craig.
And hopefully you will both be able to participate and give your views tomorrow. And thank you again. All right. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for joining us on a Sunday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Lots of quality time together.
All right.
I bet.